right. Hey, you guys. This is Rachel here, the Modern Shaman. I am glad you're with me for another YouTube video this week, and happy Valentine's week. I love this week. I mean, why not celebrate it? To me, I'm like, yeah, any excuse to pump up the love. And imagine the vibration on this earth when so many people are aligned with the singular intention of loving others on this day. Like, we should have this all the time. Powerhouse punch of love. So all that being said, I'm celebrating it. I'm celebrating you all and my connection through that loving energy of source. Here is the question of this week. Oh, I forgot to mention. Always, if you're new to the channel, go to my website, themodernshaman.net. That is the most useful resource. Okay, here's the question of the week. Oh, my assistant saved this one for me too, because this one is more love focused. She said, Rachel, thanks so much for your YouTube live last week. Oh, that's right. I'm doing YouTube lives the first Friday of every month. So join me this March. I think it's March 5th. And we'll do that at 12 noon Central Standard Time. We'll be right here on the YouTube channel. You can ask your questions live, and it's a great, just high vibing time of like-minded individuals. So I hope you guys join us. All right, back to the question. I really loved your live. I read that part. Okay, my question for this week is, what is the difference between twin flames and soulmates? I often hear people talk about this and use the terms interchangeably. It seems like it just depends on what is the popular term for the day. Can you help me differentiate these types of people in my life? Okay, so twin flame versus soulmate. Let's talk about it. I will say that in the spiritual community, to be honest with you, different terms and semantics just become popularized. It's like what we call it of the day, you know what I mean? And just like any grouping in culture, like certain terms become popular. Colloquialisms, right? That term is kind of like our slang, what the kids are saying these days. And the spiritual community has what we're saying these days, or what we're calling it these days, or like the hot topic of the day. And so just be aware of that sometimes there are fads energetically, just like there are slang or fads in our colloquial culture. That's hard to say, colloquialism. But our colloquial culture, I'm trying, y'all. Anyways, that our spiritual community has the same thing. So don't get so caught up in it that the terms may change. What I go by as a differentiating factor is what I see in my clairvoyance when I'm in session and somebody is asking me this question. Is this my twin flame? Is this my soulmate? How do I know what type of relationship this is? The way I learned to differentiate it is because in my vision, when there was twin flame dynamic energy going on between a masculine and feminine counterpart. Now remember, this doesn't have to do with gender. It has to do with the energetic role that you're playing in that relationship. And that's important to note because sometimes in romantic relationships, the masculine figure can be feminine or can be female in her biology. So you may be representing the masculine energy in the relationship in the twin flame dynamic, but be female biologically, and vice versa for the male. Twin flame energy looks like two sides of the double helix. So one is a singular person. The double helix is our DNA, right? And in my vision, spirit will just almost show me that like a code, like this is a twin flame energy. It looks like the female aspect and the male aspect that combine to make a singular DNA of the soul. And I would say the identifiable characteristics are typically, these are romantic relationships, and they are catalytic in nature. A lot of times they are change agents, right? So the twin flame relationship has a sense of bringing about change for both people in that dynamic relationship. And oftentimes it's highly volatile because it is such a catalyst for change. So talk about coming in and shaking up your life. A twin flame energy, when that relationship dynamic gets lit aflame and comes your way, it typically changes your world. It changes your paradigm. It is a game-changing energy dynamic in a relationship. So these are big, swift movers of whatever you were doing before that relationship came in. Typically, you're not doing the same afterwards. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean this cannot be a long-term relationship, but typically what I see is it comes in as a catalyst. All right, and it's known for that. It's also, like I said, very volatile energy. And so it brings up oftentimes things that are seen in the shadow or that you are not seeing in order to bring light to that counterpart energy. So what I see in twin flame dynamic energies is that there will be a masculine energy that again is defined by one individual, no matter what the gender, and there's a feminine counterpart that will be expressed in another individual. Now, when these come together in twin flame dynamics in the relationship, they are both put together for a direct mission of essentially creating balance in the divine masculine and the divine feminine counterpart energy to make a singular whole. But remember, the singular whole is in each individual. It's not like together we make a whole. And I feel like that's a kind of a misnomer, or people get that wrong when they talk about twin flame energy. It is the counterparts coming together, but they create a whole within each individual. So they create a balance of the feminine and the masculine in one individual, and they create a balance of the masculine and feminine in the other individual. Now, the way they do that is through the catalytic energetic, like intertanglement, right? Or like getting entwined together in a catalytic way that both dynamics, in one way, shape, or another, bring up the missing elements or the hidden shadow elements in their partner. When that comes alive, then it essentially lets that individual work on those aspects. Now, if they continue in their spiritual journey, then they will evolve into the balance of their own divine feminine and divine masculine holistic self. That's the goal. Okay, and so those relationships are highly pivotal. Like I said, they're change agents in our life when we're on our spiritual journey. They typically change everything in our world. Like they come in and it's like, you ain't never gonna be the same, okay? And if you continue on your path, that's a good thing. If you don't, you can kind of get stuck in it and almost feel like you're just going over and over and over the same issues and hitting your head against the wall over the same issues over and over and over again. But the reason I bring up the fact that it is individual growth that the relationship causes is because it's not dependent on the other individual to figure their stuff out in order for you to ascend into your divine feminine and divine masculine whole. And so I feel like sometimes people miss that, right? Or they think that it's dependent, like I've got to be with my twin in order to ascend together, or I have to have that aspect. Remember, the twin flame energy is bringing those energetic poles, or the very dualistic separation of the masculine and the feminine expressions, and showing one another through bringing light into the areas of the shadow, showing each other the areas they need to work on. And when those come up, if you keep working on it, then you will ascend into the whole. And if the other individual does the same, then they will ascend into the whole. Now, that may mean you choose to stay together for the long haul and it's a long-term relationship. Beautiful. If not, one may choose to work on it at a different speed than the other, but the purpose is still the same. Driving each of you into that holistic balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine aspects of the self. This is why it's called twin energy. It's very separate in terms of the personification of those energy types of masculine and feminine. Now, when soulmates come up and I'm in a session and someone's asking me about someone and their relationship to them. Are they my twin flame? Are they my soulmate? What is this person's job in my life? What is our spiritual mission together? When soulmate energy comes in, it is a partnership energy. So it is not as catalytic. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have issues, or it may not be hard at the beginning, or it doesn't bring change, but it's not a catalytic energy. It doesn't come in just for the purpose of shaking all that crap up and clearing it out and bringing you into balance. It comes in typically with an energy of support and long-term growth and companionship. Now, it's interesting to note soulmate relationships don't have to be romantic. There's a difference there between the twin flame energy. It's typically romantic. Soulmate energy doesn't. Sometimes I see it quite often in like mother and son, or mother and daughter, or father and daughter, and father and son, siblings, sometimes friends, like lifelong friends, and sometimes romantic partnerships. So soulmate energy, because they are your kind of ride or die, they are your reason that your soul is evolving and growing. They are continuing to support that evolution, to support your mission. A lot of times they are the biggest supporting character towards your mission in life. So you may have a mission of teaching and speaking your voice on this planet, and that person becomes one that either supports you in your ability to do that financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, or they give you a reason to. Like sometimes it may be a child and they're born autistic, and they give you literally a purpose to your life to help teach or help meet individuals with that same issue. And they are a soulmate relationship. They are evolving the soul at such a deep level of partnership and support and companion throughout the longevity of your life. So these soulmate relationships are true helpers of your soul. And that's how they look when they're identified. A lot of times the symbolism I see in my clairvoyance is two hands, like holding hands, or two hearts that I feel like are holding hands. They're side by side in their sense of support for one another, and there's longevity to it. And again, don't get caught up on what the relationship looks like. It doesn't have to be romantic. Even sometimes I've seen these with individuals that were in a romantic relationship at one time, and then maybe they get divorced, or maybe they break up, and they remain friends. And that is still the person you go to when like all else fails, or the person that is just a solid foundation for your soul growth in this life. And that's what lives are about. I mean, that's what it comes down to, our soul growth, right? And evolution as a spirit. So much of that can be helped and aided by a soulmate in your life. So I hope that's helpful to you, kind of the differences between the twin flame and the soulmates. They are both beautiful relationships, but very different function for your life and kind of reason that they come in. All right, so I'm gonna shut it down here, and I will be back with you guys next week for another video. Blessings.